All right, just waiting here for people to join in. And more importantly, I'm waiting for my guest tonight, Gavin Van Vlack, to join in so I can invite him into the stream. Hope you guys are having a good quarantine. What you hear in the background is basically me bored out of my mind. I did very appropriately my own a cappella beatboxing version of It's the End of the World and We Know It by REM. All right, let's see what's going on here. Hello, Physical Culture Collective. Let's see if we can get you in here. All right, guys, give me a second so I can tell Gavin how to join in. I got my guest tonight is Gavin Van Vlack from the legendary Burn, amazing New York hardcore band. And he also played in Die 116, Big Collapse. And he's an owner of a awesome gym here in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn called Physical Culture Collective. All right. All right, let me just tell Gavin what to do here. While I'm waiting for Gavin to send me his invite so I can get him on, I have a bunch of episodes coming up this week. We're going to be recording them. And, whoop, I just fell down there. Let me know if you guys can all hear me. Just let me know in the comments because I have my phone kind of standing up on this weird table. Can you guys hear me? Is it working? Ralph, are you watching? Anyway, I got episodes coming up. I'm going to be working with St. Vitus, and we're going to transfer some of these interviews onto the St. Vitus Instagram. And I have interviews coming up with Artie Shepard, the owner of St. Vitus, tomorrow night. Then we have coming up this week interviews with... all right, there's Gavin. Gavin, send me a request so I can have you join in. Send me a request to join in. Yeah, I'm going to be interviewing Incendia.
Playing something different.
Monday, Dave Castillo is going to be interviewing Russian Circles, and we're waiting from a few others. I'm going to be interviewing Spotlights, my own bandmates, on Wednesday. Hey, Gavin. Figured it out. Sorry. It's only the second time I'm doing this, so let's see if this works. But yeah, we're talking about having Tom Sheehan from Indecision. Oh, there he is.
Yes,
Gavin,
yes,
what's up,
yes. Man? I'm here with none other than the man himself.
Hell yeah, what's up? It looks like the signal's a little spotty.
Let me go in the other room where I probably have better reception.
No worry, I'll just keep talking, man. So that's
You're good
Gavin
at that.
Van Vlack of Burn, and again, we're going to be talking to him about a lot of stuff: music, sobriety, and martial arts and training, and a lot of fun stuff. So thanks for joining us. And
yeah, it's great to be here, man.
This has been fun. Absolutely. That's Gavin's amazing pit bull Musashi, who is the mascot over at Physical Culture Collective, the gym that he owns. Oh, starting to get some questions, so let me know when you're in place. Urian Hackney's got a question for you.
Oh, Mr. fucking Magic. Oh, fuck yeah. Am I allowed to swear in this?
We got...
Because I'm going to swear like...
We got comments.
What up?
All right, Gavin, before we kick it off, Urian wants me to ask you to tell us about sardines. I don't know what he means by that, but I'm going to let you...
What, sardines? If you're an omnivore, sardines are one of the best road foods in the world. If you are an omnivore. I know that, like, you know, there's going to be people that are, oh, you know, it's not vegan. I understand that. I'm not vegan either. So... but sardines, as far as bang for the buck, on the road, one of the best road foods you can get as far as sustainability for, you know, like if you're not going to be eating regularly, which is a common thing. Anybody who tours knows this. It's, you know, sardines, like they're a staple food for me. Like myself and Chaka both, because Chaka is a pescatarian. So we would put those when we could on our riders, you know, anything like that. So it was like they were one of those things because also they're in a tin. You can travel with them. It's not like, you know, you have to eat them when they're right there. So yeah, it's like that was one of my staple go-tos. I know it's a weird thing, and people go, what the fuck's up with sardines? I'm very much about like food for me is fuel. I'm an adult athlete. I still, you know, I still am very active within the jiu-jitsu community. I still train Muay Thai. I still train boxing. I like, you know, I go out and play with my dog. I'm an extremely active person. So everything I eat kind of has to mean something, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that seems to be the case with everything going on in your life from knowing you, which is something I've always admired about you. I do want to touch on you know, Physical Culture Collective and all the different things going on there, but I'm going to kind of treat this as a podcast, I guess, and start from the beginning. If you're cool with that.
Sure, it's a great place to
Gavin, can you
start.
hear me? All right. So Gavin,
Yeah,
a lot of my friends
Pat
and
Gassman.
myself, we got people joining in. A lot of my friends, and obviously myself included, we know you from the hardcore scene because you were the guitarist in Absolution and Burn, but you're not actually from New York. Is that right?
No. I grew up
Where
in
are
New
you from?
Hampshire.
And
I
when
grew
did
up in New
you?
Hampshire. I lived in Vermont for a long time. And then we moved down to the city. So yeah, it's like I'm a country kid, really. And at heart, I'm a country kid.
I've heard you say that many times. When did you come to New York City? Because I know it's been a while, obviously.
We moved down here when I was about 12, just turning 13. My
Okay.
mom, my mom was born in Brooklyn and grew up in Flatbush, and like all of her family was down here, the Mexican side of the family, and we moved down here, and she tried to remain independent because it's just who she was, but she was battling with cancer at that time. So we had our own apartment, and that didn't work out. So we ended up moving in with my oldest sister, who's kind of always, you know, I'm the youngest and the only boy, but my oldest sister, quite honestly, was the fucking man of the house. Like she fucking held it down. Um, and anybody who's ever met my sister understands that. Like she's just a really, she's the person I probably get most of my grit from.
Yeah, no, and the reason why I wanted to kind of take it back to your sort of origins is because I just find you to be kind of an inspirational dude, and you have a quite a story. And you know, when you came to New York, how old were you?
I was 13.
Okay,
Yeah, I
and
was 13 years old, and it was scary. It was weird, and it was scary as fuck. But growing up in a swamp and in kind of in the wilderness, it kind of prepped me for what New York was at that time, because it was very, you know, it's like at that point, you know, like as a kid, there was plenty of ways to die. But I mean, also where I grew up, I mean, I saw more kids shot by misfired guns as a kid than, you know, probably an equal amount of people died down here from just being shot. So it was like there was you know, death has always been in courtship of my life in a weird way. So I had an
yeah,
understanding about it. And I understand that if you didn't act accordingly and didn't keep your own attitudes in check, you could get fucking, you know, you have to respect certain things in our nature, you know?
yeah. What year was that you came here at 13?
13. God, I'm thinking back. I'd be like 82, I think. 81, 82.
Yeah,
My, my math my math could be shaky at that point, but it was around that time, yeah.
well, yeah, obviously New York was just a totally different beast back then,
Yeah,
especially downtown. That
yeah.
well, actually all over New York. But what you were in the Lower East Side right away, or were you? You know, where'd you go first?
Well, I was in the Lower East Side. Like my mom had a place on Pitt Street for a red hot second, and then we ended up going up to Westchester because my sister had a place up there in Mount Kisco, and I spent a good amount of time up there. But I really didn't fit in a lot up there with suburban kids, And, I tried, but I didn't have the tools to fit in with those kind of people. And it was odd. And it's not that I didn't have friends. I have some friends from people that I went to high school with that I'm still very, very good friends with. But, that's one of those things. Those are friendships that are fucking just, those are forged friendships. And what I mean by forged is like, they're made out of real harder stuff. It's, I wasn't really fit for that kind of environment. Again, yeah, I didn't have the tools. I was a country
It
kid.
makes sense. A lot of people that end up in subcultures like hardcore or punk rock obviously lack, or not lack, but they just don't have. They're not made up the same way that the rest of society is, right?
No, there's very few people I find, and it's something that I've had to learn to be able to do, to be able to. And I think it's kind of it's a sign of what I would call true class, of being able to relate to anybody. It doesn't matter who, but relate to anybody. And when I think about people I know who are like that, I think about like Parmaninda from Shelter, John Purcelli. He's one of those people that he can meet anybody, from like, a guy who's been living on the street for 20 years to a person who's, a highly educated, fellowship scholar. And he can relate to the person. Like, he's just got that kind of class. And that's something that, I think being around him kind of taught me that kind of like adaptability. And he's someone who's like, for lack of a better word, our karma has always been kind of interlinked. We've always had, we've always been in, like kind of like an orbit of each other's lives in a way. Like, Raghunath's another one. Craig Satari, who pretty much everybody knows. Craig Satari is one of my, like, within the hardcore scene, one of my best friends. It's like, and these are people who, it's weird. It's gonna sound. I'm trying to think of the way to say it. There's a term called the power of five, and like, you are the median of the 5 most successful and the 5 least successful people that you keep in your circle. And that's one of the things that I'm a big believer in. It's like you want to have people that are definitely above you, that you can learn from, because there's an old saying, if you're the smartest person in the room's too small.
Right.
And but that also means that the people that are learning from you, they need to be of a stellar quality. They need to be of a quality of they might actually become a person that you will be a mentee to in the future.
I love that too. That's there's so much that can be said about. By the way, Gavin, if you can wipe down your screen, I don't know if that's it. It's a little blurry, so I'm wondering if there's a way to get it a little clearer.
My screen is so fucked up. Let me give it a shot here. Let's see.
See if that helps. Let's see.
Any better?
I think that helped a little bit. Yeah. Now, if anyone's joining us now, Gavin was just talking about some friends that to this day are still very close to him, and we're talking about
Red and Haley. You're all fucking blurry.
Yeah, Craig Satari of Sick of It All, and Ray Capo and Porcel, legendary guys from New York, and playing in Shelter and Youth of Today. That's
and the thing is, understand also, I'm not trying to like name drop. I'm just trying to put references out there, because it's the same thing as like, people always ask me about like, oh, well, what do you think about, what do you look for like as guitar influences and so on and so forth. Guitar influences are very much like life influences. It's like, I try to keep people around me that are that I can learn from, and that's one of the things also, like being a coach, it's pretty well known. I teach Muay Thai, I teach Jiu-Jitsu, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I always need to keep people around me that I can learn from.
Absolutely. Where I was going to go with that, I don't ever think you're name dropping. It's just sort of the one thing I think that's been constant, I'm sure, for both of us, which is that a lot of the friends that I made were in a similar way, growing up.
Hey, Rob.
Feeling kind of like an outcast, and meeting people through music, and some of these people I am still very close with to this day. And if I wasn't friends with those people, I would have never heard about your music or met you and all of that, and now I'm a member of your gym, and we play music together. So it's a cool thing, you know, just the whole
Yeah.
culture and how 40 years later it still exists and people are still connecting through it, you know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting too because there's like this little resurgence now all of a sudden, and I'm very sure that many of you out there are familiar with Drew Stone, and you know, he did the New York hardcore documentary, and he started promoting shows at Niagara, and it started to become its own little thing, which I think is beautiful because in a certain way, like, and there's not a lot of us that remember when CB's was in its full swing and ABC No Rio kind of was like this little upstart within the scene, and it developed. It's sad because it developed two separate scenes, and there was a lot of shit talk and so on and so forth. But I think it's good that if there's more than, let's say, one place for venues. New York used to have so many places for venues, and I know that, like, you know, it's like we've got some great venues, like, you know, like Dave Castillo, who I saw is online here. Like, he owns one of the best venues, you know, if not in New York, on the East Coast with St. Vitus. You know, it's like that. You know, there's so many bands have started there, and so many bands that are at their fucking pinnacle, like, play there. And he like him and Artie and that whole crowd have made a great venue. And it's getting really scary now because the venues are starting to become more and more limited. And what we really need to do as a scene, and it's like I say we, and it's like, you know, well, Gavin, why aren't you helping with this? I wish I had more time in the day to be able to do that type of stuff. But, you know, in a way, it's got to go back to garage band kind of theory of like little loft party shows and places for young bands to start to incubate and grow. And what I mean by incubate and grow is that when you see a band play and they don't have a good set, still cheer them on, man. Because I know, like, it's a lot like athletics. When you put someone in their first sparring class, they're as fucked up as a soup sandwich. Like, they're a total fucking mess. They can't, you know, they can't tell their feet from their hands. But it takes time to, like, you know, develop into that kind of athlete. And we need to be more patient with our young bands and give them time to grow and give them time to embrace the suck and learn what they do well and learn what they don't do well. Here's some cat. Have some cat.
I love that analogy, Gavin, and there's something to be said about that.
So it much cat.
It's a great time in Brooklyn. I mean, it's a great time for music everywhere, but in Brooklyn, there's a lot more venues. There's a lot more things going on, a lot of diversity. We got some questions that we're ignoring, so I'm going to
pop some questions.
All right, so okay, let me just shout out Rob Polini. Rode my bike with Die 116 playing the whole time. Was a perfect apocalypse ride through Red Hook. I love Die 116, and I want to talk about that in a bit. Okay, we got a question about your guitar playing. I'm just trying to scroll to it. It's from, let me get this right. Balaram Shakti wants to know, Gavin.
I love Balaram.
Yeah, what's up, man?
I'm coming back out with Gibson's, baby. Coming back out with Gibson's on the next show.
What is the best guitar you've ever owned, and what's your favorite go-to guitar amp for your best tone?
Oh, he's gonna fucking hate me. Guitar, it depends. Like, you know, right now the two things if you look up behind me right here, this is a bricktop Fender Tele, which is a baritone, of which I'm in the process right now. I'm writing a walkout song for Brett the Threat Heveltech, who's a professional fighter. And it's something that I'm actually bringing Urian Hackney in on. So I've kind of been playing with some ideas on that. But right now, my baby that I'm running with is this kid right here, which is just it's just a rando, lovely little SG, which is nice and light, fucking real snarly sounding. Got good feel to the neck. I don't play Jackie anymore, which is my my son, that signature Sunburst deluxe that I played for years, just because that old girl's she's had so many close calls that yeah, I just don't feel safe bringing it on stage anymore. And I do, it's very in my own theology, I try not to become too attached to things, but I have a problem not acknowledging the Buddha nature within everything. And that guitar has more value to me, I think, in the studio writing and just playing at home for enjoyment. I've got, like, it's funny, when I got off the last Burn tour, I came home, I had 48 guitars, which is stupid.
That's a lot.
Because,
that's
a lot. That's a lot. And we will address that. We will address that in the sobriety component of our interview.
Okay, we'll get there.
But yeah, so I kind of sold a lot of them, and then there was a lot of them that I had lent out to people, and people would be, oh, well, do you want this guitar back? And I'm like, well, does that guitar make you happy? And a lot of people were like, yeah. I'm like, well, keep it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Right now, my go-to amp setup is an Axe Fractal FX2 because I've really gotten into deep dive on it. I can get some really great sounds out of it. I know a lot of amp purists are not going to love that. I love my old Marshalls. I love my old combos, and I have that stuff. But right now, out of pure convenience and like just diversity, I really am feeling this Axe Fractal. And for those of you who don't know, it looks like this is an Axe Fractal. Okay, this.
Well, we got a comment here from Tori Bonfiglio at Beer Street. Apparently, one of his friends got a PRS guitar that he loved from you. Jean V got a PRS guitar from you, Gavin.
Yes, I gave John one of my PRSs because he actually when we put Burn back together, he gave me this amazing Silverburst Les Paul that I fucking love, which is actually in my kitchen right now. I kind of keep a guitar in every room.
We got another one, and then I'll jump into some stories. But Mike Dijon from Crown of Thorns and Breakdown. What's up, man?
Fucking love Mike.
Mike Dijon is the man. So he wants to know, would you ever whip out the power drill again live like Casino Skate Park?
I fucking love how you make it sound like sex. Yes. Oh, hell yes. I wasn't,
amazing.
And it's not, I mean, I wasn't the first to fucking do that. I mean, if you go back to, man, the passing of the great Genesis Peorage just recently, Throbbing Gristle was doing that shit way back in the day, and yeah. I was a big TG fan. I was a big Psychic TV fan, and bless them for giving us those influences.
Gavin, we went ahead a little bit. I'm going to go back and forth, but your guitar playing.
Mike Chernow, I love you also.
Oh yeah, what's up, man? All right, wait, one more question from Balaram Shakti. What about your Axe effects? Let's see. He wants to know, what about it? What are you using for effects, Gavin?
Well, on the Axe effects right now, I'm playing with some ideas of like combining some filters on a wah-wah pedal with a Foreman. And you know what? Probably I shouldn't be using my big mouth because there's younger guys out there that are so much smarter than me that are going to make better sounds. But hey, you know what? They beat me to those sounds. I'll steal them back. I'm good with that. All art is theft.
You've been often imitated even by I'm guilty myself. I just put out an EP with my new band, and I've been told that I ripped you off a lot, so I apologize. But
steal away, dude. I've said straight up jokingly, all I do is play Wes Montgomery through a distortion pedal and a wah-wah. You know,
your guitar playing has evolved. Obviously that's what happens over the years, but I just want to kind of take a trip down a little bit. Like when you were playing in Absolution, your first band, what was the sort of framework there? I guess if you were going to go with like influences, like was it just your own thing, or did you have something in mind where you're like, oh, I really want to do something like this?
Well, the framework, the weird thing with Absolution is that we were really kind of we were a conflict punk band that didn't look like conflict punks because we didn't have the spikes. Like Gingy and I, like our biggest influences at that point were bands like Discharge, Broken Bones, Conflict, just so like just that style of music. I mean, it's not to say like, you know, my tried and trues have always been bands like the Adolescents, X, you know, and that's just, I mean, we're just talking about like hardcore, you know, Minor Threat, of course, the Bad Brains, you know, and then your peer group, your direct peer group that's around you at that time, which for us, it was like, you know, Sick of It All, Agnostic Front, the Cro-Mags, Carnivore at that, you know, at that point, at that juncture, Carnivore was still fucking the scariest thing in Brooklyn, you know, and they brought like this music, this really, really brutal musicality to you know, to what they were doing. There were so many influences, and it's hard to say exactly what it was, but I think what it is when you take influences and you don't adhere to them super strictly and you let them bend and you let them flourish, that's where you start to create, it starts to become its own kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah, it totally makes sense.
I ask if it makes sense a lot because sometimes I listen to myself. I'm like, "Wow, you're going senile and you're speaking gibberish."
No,
so it's like
it's interesting to me because as a fan, you know, even before I knew you, I was into your bands, and you know, Burn sounded like an extension of Absolution, but I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, it just there seemed to be a little more like progressive rock influence in a weird way. Like I don't know if that was more of you or the combination of you and Alan, but there's just really interesting time changes and syncopated stuff that I never heard in hardcore.
Man, here's the thing about Burn, and it's like it's kind of fuck. Rest in peace to Alex Napak, but he was, to me, one of the most underrated players. He was one of these dudes that like we would go into the studio and he just like he'd be warming up just playing like Sade bass lines. I mean, that's where what makes Burn so good is my guitar is, I mean, the guitar is an extension of myself, which it's brutal. And it's very much, you want to answer that question about your rim shots there, Chris?
Well, hey, Gladhammer. Yes, I always try to hit the rims when I hit the snare live for the most part. Thank you for asking, man.
Brett Naylor, you know what? I don't remember anything that happened at the Limelight. And if I did, I could probably be incarcerated for, you know, or have a hit taken out of me for talking about anything that went on. Like if you talk to like me or Pete Tyler or any of the guys like Kenny Cintron, any of the guys that used to work there was so much scandalous, beautiful, wonderful, heartwarming stuff that went on there.
I went
rest
there
in
at
peace,
11
Limelight.
old.
Oh God. Yeah. But the thing about it is that, you know, that the guitar was an extension of me, but I think what really made that work was that Alan had a different approach to music, as did Alex. You know, Alex was a very
soul. A lot of soul in that.
Alex
and like
a very smooth player. And there's bands out there that went totally off the radar. People like bands like Engine, which was Mark Ryan, Alex Napak, EK, who played in Sick of It All, and Ian Love. And I know there's stuff recorded, but I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day. But when you see like the depth of those, the depth of the depth of scope of how Alex played, I think a lot of that is what made that first Burn EP so frigging amazing.
Yeah, no, there was a lot. We're going to answer that question for Conrad in a second, but there was always a lot. I'm trying to keep up with the people. There was always a lot of soul and jazz and fusion. You know what I liked about Burn and Absolution was there was some funk.
Yeah, we had a Mexican guitarist.
Well, no, but there's so much. There was so much funk rock in the '90s that sounds dated now when you listen to it with
Yeah.
slap bass, and it's just some of it's embarrassing. And you guys never crossed that line. You kind of, Alex played with his fingers, but it was never over the top. Where a lot of those bands that had slap bass and stuff, you listen to it now, it's just kind of not.
Well,
It
there's a thing of like, one thing like you gotta. See, I'm a big fan of diversity, but at certain points, you got to stay in your fucking lane.
I agree. I agree.
It's like there's too many bands, and I'm not going to mention them like that were so awesome, and then all of a sudden they start to do something because we all get influenced. It's like it's all amazing stuff, but it's like I remember hearing like the first time I heard Facelift, and I was like, oh my god. But I was also very keyed into the fact of like, I have to watch out because I don't want to start writing grunge riffs.
Yeah. That brings us to Die 116. We'll jump around, but Conrad Mata wanted to know, I love your bass playing on Damage Control. Who are your bass influences, and why did you choose to play bass in Die 116?
My bass influences, at that point, there were actually guys who were super fucking current. Al just from the Swans. Okay? Fucking amazing. Let's talk Two for Tuesday here. Cop Shoot Cop. Both Todd Ashley and Nats. Amazing bass players. Pete from the Unsane. Wow. It's like I'm thinking about bass players that really like, that I thought were, because I just had this real weird vision about bass. Oh no, here's another one, and I cite the album Elron by Bark Market as being one of my all-time favorite albums. But Johnny Nolan is hands down one of the most underrated, highly skilled bass players. That whole band, Rock Savage,
it's
Dave
ridiculous.
They're just fucking. If you have not, I'm telling you what. If you have not listened to Elron, it will fucking. If you're a musician, it will make you write a song or two.
Yeah, let me backtrack too. Like a lot, because you just mentioned a lot of amazing bands. A lot of not that these bands are unheard of, but a lot of people they talk about in New York and they forget that the New York hardcore scene was amazing. It still is, but we also had these like really crazy bands like Unsane, Swans, like you mentioned, Cop Shoot Cop, and Bark Market. And if you're watching and you don't know who these bands are, and you're a fan of,
you're in for a treat.
Yeah, especially I would say, especially the bass playing. A lot of those bands, the rhythm sections are just so tight. Like if you like Jesus Lizard and you don't know those bands, check it out. You've been around obviously a little bit longer than I have, but I remember that a lot of those bands were very New York to me when I was growing up, and you don't hear about that as a New York sound as much as you do with like the hardcore stuff or hip hop or anything. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but yeah.
Well,
so
I think what it was like, because those are the bands that I was like at that point really into, and because I kind of stepped away from the hardcore scene. I like starting about like honestly about 88, 89, because it was like there were certain things going on with it that I didn't like. I had people that didn't want me at shows. And I was fine with it because at that point I was, going to shows that were at places like the Lizard's Tail in Williamsburg, or like, these loft parties in Williamsburg at that point where these bands were playing. And then the whole Ludlow Street scene at that point had started up. And to me, it was just a whole new thing. And I saw these bass players and I was like, oh, these guys are fucking rad, because there was a minimalism behind it. There was like this, it wasn't what they were playing, it's what they weren't playing. And I think the complementary aspect behind that, like what made Henry from Helmet so fucking amazing. Look who the drummer he's playing with is. So you have someone like Henry, and then you have Stanier, and it just makes this rhythm section that is akin to a fucking, a Sherman tank,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's just,
helmet needs to be mentioned there, obviously, but
yeah,
and they really took it to that level where they obviously had notoriety. But I think what made those bands very New York was, talking about bass playing and the sound and the tones. A lot of those bands, what they had in common was a grittiness to the sound of, and Die 116 too. Like, you listen to all
yeah,
those bands and the bass is always super fucking crunchy, and the drums are just fucking, the groove in that, in almost like, this hip hop kind of way, without, you know what I mean? Like, or like a soul kind of
yeah.
way,
Well,
which,
I mean, that's the thing about it, is that if you think about the cross culturalism of hip hop and why we chose to work with the engineers and producers that we did, i.e., Martin Bisi, who is someone who had worked with everybody from like Jim Thurwell to Herbie Hancock, someone
and
who was so,
Swans and Sonic Youth. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he had worked with everybody. So this is someone who knew sound. He wasn't just about music. I mean, we did stuff in that Dynacool record that was just weird, like as far as like ideas, and it was like a lot of it was just off the cuff. Like, hey, let's take this 5-gallon baby killer bucket of metal objects and throw them down a set of stairs, record it, and then loop it and run it behind something else as a sequence. It's like, things that he allowed us. And I think that's a lot of what makes Martin Bisi so fucking great, is that he lets you do what you're going to do and very much doesn't keep a bridle on you and doesn't have this idea of like, well, no, it's the Martin Bisi sound. He's there to curate what you are. And I mean, it says on that first record, it's like, recorded and produced under duress. Because when we first did that record, he was like, well, I didn't say I was going to produce you. And me and Cooper were like, yeah. Okay, Martin, whatever. And, he, after a while, kind of was like, these kids are nuts. Let's see what we can do with this.
I know I've spent a lot of time on Die 116, but I don't want to leave it yet. Oh, yeah, and also, Damien, you are right. Prong was another amazing band from New York who, as big as they got, they never really got the credit that they should have gotten. I always thought that Tommy
Hold on a
Victor
second. Zookman, if you need to DM me at GVV Strong at IG, I'll give you a whole list of dope bands you should check out. Okay?
Yeah,
So seriously,
absolutely.
hit me up at GVV Strong, and I will give you a whole list of super cool fucking bands, like John Spencer Blues Explosion, Pussy Galore. Oh, man, there's so much good stuff that just is off our radar. And it's all great music.
When did you start gravitating outside of hardcore? I mean, Die 116 was your first band that was kind of like, off to the left a little bit. Like, what was going on at that time?
I just got hardcore become really homogenous at a point. It became like a bunch of kids that were all dressed the same. God. Now I'm gonna say it because a lot braver people than I have said. It started to look like a fucking Benetton ad, and that was my thing. Now
it really looks like a Benetton ad. I don't know if you've noticed when you walk by, the venues that are open now, but the fashion and all that stuff. No, but it's interesting, and I know a couple people that wanted me to ask these questions about Die 116. I'm from the Long Island hardcore scene, and a lot of people I grew up
TM
around.
Labs never.
Huh?
No. I used the women's room actually. I did use the women's room to
we're talking about
yes.
the CB's back. Yeah. But so I think you answered the question anyway. So you were getting into different stuff, and that's sort of what led you to Die 116. Yeah.
Well, I was getting into different stuff, and also there was just a certain, anybody who knows like my life knows that I've always been a kind of a fringe dude, like a little bit out on the skirts, and the danger that made it sexy to me wasn't there anymore, and the fun that made it appealing was gone, in my opinion, because it became it became more of a popularity contest, because there were bands, quite honestly, and I will say this, there were bands that weren't good, but because people were friends with them, like they got mad props. And there were so
Right.
many other bands that I thought had done the time and played the shows and had developed themselves. You know, let's take one big one who I will always go to is Nausea.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Nausea was fuck
Legendary.
legendary. I remember seeing them at Central Park, and it was like me, Purcell, and Raghunath were in the pit, and Ray just looks at me and goes like, "Holy cow! They've rewritten everything. This is awesome." Because it was
I wish that I could
it
have
was a
seen
pit full of like these 6 foot and up huge conflict punks with spiky jackets, like spiked mohawks. You know, just and they were fucking going off. They were hard.
You know what's amazing
they were like,
too is like, you know, a lot of crust bands, they don't you don't think to yourself, oh, what talented bands these are. But Roy Mayorga was probably one of the best drummers that came out of the scene, and still is. I mean, yeah.
Roy Mayorga, dude. We have to send his genes into space. Holy cow, that guy is just—he's another person who's just such a class act too. You know,
Yeah.
he is such like,
It's a full
you know,
podcast that he's.
you know, like him, like, you know, like I think about the guys from that direct scene, you know, him, John Jesse, Sergio Vega, who the first time I met Sergio Vega had a red mohawk, like 15-inch mohawk with Knox gelatin, you know, like leather jacket, you know, and like, you know, like punk as fuck. Me, him, and Gingy were boys. And like, that was like with Absolution, that was the scene that I gravitated to.
You guys grew up in the scene early on. I saw a lot of photos and videos of you bouncing shows in the 80s, totally punk rock style, like spiked belts and spiked hair and all that. Where were you working back then? At Irving Plaza, or was it a few different venues?
That was the old Ritz, which is now
The old Ritz.
Yeah, Webster Hall. There was a couple that on like Irving Plaza. You know, a couple, you know, me and the crowd at CB's. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a different era because, you know, here's the thing. You know, the prophet Roger Murray said it best. Never trust a hardcore kid. Never trust a hardcore kid who wasn't into punk.
Oh, totally.
You know?
150%.
You know?
And then
And
it's true.
I'm saying the prophet facetiously, but Roger to me has grown into the elder statesman of hardcore that we need, you know, as opposed to where there's a lot of older guys who are bickering over silly shit.
Right.
You know, and I'm not going to get into names, but, you know, it's like, we don't have enough time. I don't care what your metaphysical theories on the afterlife are. We don't have enough time here to bicker.
Yeah.
We should be using this time to create, to help others, you know, to make great art, great music, you know, inspire other people to do the same.
Yeah.
You know, this shit's
Absolutely.
short, dude.
Let me ask you
You
this.
know?
I mean, obviously, sure, you've seen your fair share of street violence back in the day. Would you say there was ever a connection between that and how you got into? I'm going to transition to how you got into martial arts and then eventually opening up your own gym. But you know, as far as getting into martial arts, did it have anything to do with growing up in the streets and getting into situations or not really?
No. Even if I didn't study martial arts, I still would have been a street fighter. That was just that was one of the things. Like, my weapon of choice was a Santa Cruz longboard. You know, I was always good with my hands. You know, Muay Thai taught me how to use my knees, my elbows, my legs. But my friend AJ James, basically was the person who introduced me to Muay Thai, and I don't think it was like, wow, I've got a secret weapon. It was like, when I first discovered, I was like, what is this language? What is this? This is something so different and so like beautiful.
What
You
year?
know,
What year was that you started doing Muay Thai?
maybe 1991.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
And the
know,
jiu-jitsu thing, were you? When did that come into play? Was that later on, or kind of around the
what,
same time?
jujitsu?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu came in way, way after. I didn't start jiu-jitsu till probably about 2009. And then
Okay.
I started training no-gi, which was fun. But at that point, it was kind of like very unstructured. And it was just like, you're that idiot who thinks that like, no, you have to fight the tap, and it wasn't until I started training with like Josh Griffiths over at Clockwork, which is like my home, my jiu-jitsu base.
Yeah.
That's my jiu-jitsu family, my lineage. That I learned like the most important thing was like tap early and tap often, and tapping is just the sound of an education. That's
Yeah.
all it is, and we've got some great jiu-jitsu players within the hardcore scene that, really, like Billy from Biohazard, who's a black belt, is a fucking amazing jiu-jitsu player. The cats from Code Orange, fucking jiu-jitsu fam as well, and I know a lot of people have their opinions on them, but you don't get a Henzo Gracie black belt for nothing. Harley
Yeah.
fucking Flanagan, and he teaches kids now,
Right. Right.
which
Right.
is like, to me, is like that's fucking great,
I got to get my foot in there at some point. I notice a lot of people that get into jujitsu after having done Muay Thai for all, they just get really addicted to it, and they don't come back to Muay
Well,
Thai class.
it's funny because like talking about Physical Culture Collective and like right now as it's known, and let me put a shout out right now to everybody who belongs to anything within physical culture, whether it's a yoga school, dance studio, fucking fitness gym, CrossFit, dojo, I don't care. Right now we're all going through it together. Post your workouts online. Inspire other people. I don't care if you're doing like push-ups in your living room or jumping rope on your roof or going for a run in the park. We have to be there for each other. And I've seen some creative shit. Like one of the guys in our gym basically took a tie pad, hooked it up to the banister on his stairway, and was basically just working like 50% roundhouse kicks, just working technique beautifully. And it was amazing to watch that. It's like, this is the type of shit that really creates genius, and we can
Yeah.
grow out of it.
Are you gonna be what are you gonna be doing over the next few weeks online? Are you gonna be putting some stuff out there for
Um,
students and?
as far as Physical Culture Collective Diamond Heart Martial Arts goes, our team we're doing Q&As on Zoom right now. I spent yesterday writing programs for probably about 75% of our membership. I put out an email, and I just looked at this as like, this was like, okay, you're a coach. How good of a coach are you? Let's give you a little bit of a challenge. So I put out an email and I was like, okay, here's what I want you to do. Tell me what you have for fitness gear at your house, and I'm going to write you a program.
Right.
If you have nothing, good. Let's work with that. Because this is the kind of shit I need. At 52 years old, like I said, if you don't put yourself to challenges, you get lazy. And like, sure, I could be like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to wait it out, and hopefully everybody will come back. No, I have people that fucking rely on me and that give a, like, you've seen what PCC has done for people. A lot of people,
Oh yeah.
like, it's changed lives. And that's the thing.
Absolutely.
It's like, we're not alone. King's Combat, like the guys at King's, and Heinz, and, like all of those gyms, Red Planet, Team Red Planet, who are our neighbors, Chop and Shop. These are gyms that changed lives because I'm going to say it the only way I can. Martial arts gyms are weirdo vortexes. We are the places that weirdos come to fucking, because they don't fit in at normal gyms,
Yeah.
and they feel
Well,
safe with what we do.
I want to talk about that a little bit too, because Physical Culture Collective changed my life, and man, I was bummed that I just started going there again after a long break, and then all this stuff happened. So I'm glad that you guys are going to be finding ways for people to stay engaged. And shout out to Dave Castillo. PCC changed his life also.
Love you,
let's
Dave.
talk about two things, and then I want to pivot because we got 10 minutes left, and the way this works is that it knocks you offline, so it doesn't even give you a chance to say goodbye if we go past the 9 p.m. mark. But where can people follow you and the gym, and what's the site? Drop the socials and everything.
Well, the socials are okay. Me personally, GVV Strong at Instagram. Me musically, Burn NYHC at Instagram. Okay. Me physically, culturally, that's Physical Culture Collective at Instagram. Okay. Those
Awesome.
are the socials. Easiest way to contact us. All of those, Physical Culture Collective at Gmail if you need to reach me directly about the gym.
Yeah, let me just say, this place changed my life. I'm going to tie it all together here at our, let's see, Pigmeat Markham says PCC is still my favorite gym ever. I wish I lived in New York City so I could go there more often. GVV definitely changed my life, my outlook on physical culture. I have to say the same thing. And, when I'm
honored, man. I'm honored. Thanks a lot. And we love it when you come around. And the cool thing is that he goes back out to Pittsburgh and he takes what he learned from us and he spreads it out there. That's the good virus, man. That's a good virus.
Well, let me just say, I'm tying it all together here, but I discovered you, Gavin, as a fan of Burn. And then later on, we became friends. I was struggling. I was dealing with drug abuse and alcoholism, and I joined your gym.
Let's not say drug abuse and alcoholism. Let's call it a low-level spiritual surge.
Yes. Well, I guess my point is, you've been sober how long? 18 years? I missed you there. I think the Wi-Fi signal got all.
Uh-oh.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, 18 years.
Yep. Yeah, I always, I'm going on, I think I'm at 16 months. And I just want to address that really quick.
When
I joined PCC, when I joined PCC, I was going through some stuff, and martial arts and Muay Thai and the training going on there, and Gavin's outlook on everything just really helped me out. So I thank you so much for that. And when I'm going to be trying to continue my my exercise through anything that you put out there. And once this is all over and we can get back in there, I'm really excited to get back in. So thank you for that. And I can't recommend it anymore to anyone out there that's curious about martial arts. And, I'm not saying that it replaces meetings if you're going through stuff, but for me, I would say that going to PCC and working out with Gavin did get me sober. And
it's a great stress reliever. And that's what a lot of it is. A lot of us use alcohol and drugs to relieve stress. And they work until they don't. I know, I did it for a long time. After a while, you have to develop stronger tools.
Absolutely. And it's never bad to have a regimen of exercise and to just know how to defend yourself and have those those skills in your toolbox. And so look, I want to talk about Burn really quick because Burn is doing some shows. Guys, Burn put out an amazing record called Do or Die. And if you haven't checked that out, I mean, everyone listens to the OG stuff. And I know there are a lot of people that followed all the later stuff too, but man, it's a killer record. And if you haven't got into it yet, you got to fucking pick that up or stream it or listen to it. But Burn is playing.
It's still available on Death Wish. I was talking with those guys. I was talking with Kurt and Jake the other day, just how they're handling all this stuff. And, and I'm not saying like, oh, please go out and buy, but no, if you have it within you, go out and support a band. Go out. Don't pirate the fucking song. Pay for the fucking song, and it doesn't even have to be Burn. Go out and find some new music you like and fucking purchase it.
Especially right now, because there are musicians that need help that rely on that for income. And if you like a band,
buy the new Spotlights record.
We had a new record coming out on Friday, so we're gonna drop that soon. But so tell really quick, what's going on with Burn?
We're doing a show. We're doing the Black and Blue ball. Second day, we're playing with Gorilla Biscuits and Madball. That's going to be a sick show. The day before that is Agnostic Front and Sick of It All. Such a sick show. you know, you've heard of things being loaded for bear. This fucking show is loaded for fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex. This fucking show is so strong. Such a strong show.
I hope this thing passes so that we can all. I got tickets and I'm excited and I just can't wait to go. So I hope this whole thing just fucking passes soon. But yeah, man, I'm just so glad that we got to talk.
Yes, the packaging on the Do or Die record was done by Jake Bannon at Death Wish. He's fucking amazing.
Hell yeah. Look, we got a couple other people. Jesse Zookman, who also, by the way, guys, follow at
Zookman. Reach out to me about programming. Reach out to me about kettlebell programming. I'll help you out. We'll make something happen.
Everyone follow him. He's got a great podcast about mental health, and I know that a lot of us can relate to that. So, yeah, and definitely.
Yo, Zookman, have me on. I would love to get on that, baby.
There you go. Get Gavin on the mental health podcast, man. And
oh my God, do we have a Todd Friend? Is that a Todd Friend? I see a Todd Friend.
Oh shit, Todd from H2O.
Todd from H2O's here.
I'm gonna do a name drop. There's a lot of cool cats at PCC that you run into and become friends with. Todd Friend from H2O, who I'm going to be interviewing, just like I'm interviewing Gavin right now on my channel in the next few days. Grew up on H2O. They're awesome. You'll catch the Incendiary guys working out quite often at the gym. I'm going to be interviewing those guys on the St. Vitus channel this week on Tuesday. And I'm also going to be talking to Tom Sheehan from Indecision.
There's some weird shit on here you can fuck with, huh?
Oh man, look at that! Fuck,
wow, if I had known ahead of time, shit. Holy cow! I feel like oh man, I would. Oh,
yo, man, it's like a bunch of sober guys tripping out right now. I love it. What's going on? Oh, shit. What punk band are you? I would be burned.
Dude. This is so wow. Okay, wow. Now I was slightly aroused there for a second.
Oh shit! Oh man! Hey, look, it's Mario Quintero. What's up, man?
Mario. Yo,
I'm gonna be interviewing my own bandmates. I'm also gonna be interviewing my own bandmates, Mario and Sarah of Spotlights, on Wednesday. So we got and Dave Castillo, who's on here, is gonna be interviewing Russian Circles on the St. Vitus IG on Monday. So every single day, guys.
Anybody who has not checked out Confines World, check out Confines. Please check it out. If you like dope DJ stuff, like dope, like techno house, like really fucking cool shit, I was so impressed. I went to go see Dave at Vitus, and it was just one of those things I was like, wow, it so resonated. So yeah, check that shit out.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And we got 2 minutes before they kick us off here, but yes, just tune in every single day this week. I'm going to be interviewing somebody on my channel and the St. Vitus channel.
Every single day.
Gavin, do you have any last words? Got any last words?
Yeah. Wow, let me lose this. I can't be serious with this.
Oh shit! What up, Orlando from Stillsuit? How you doing, baby?
Fuck, hey, Orlando. Know what? Here's the main thing. Be kind to each other. Be kind to people you have never even met. Be kind to everybody. Right now, we need kindness. Okay? You know, crush the curve on stress. You know, that's the main thing, man. It's like, there's so much stress out there, so much tension. We need to be just like knocking that shit back, and that shit starts with a smile. You know?
I couldn't agree with you more, man. And so, with that being said, everybody, stay positive out there, and thank you for watching. Really appreciate you paying attention, and check out Gavin on socials. Check out Physical Culture Collective. Check out Burn NYHC, and thanks again for watching. Gavin, thank you for joining me tonight.
Never man. A problem, bro. Like I said, hit me up and DM me at either GVV Strong or at Physical Culture Collective.
Love you, man.
Love you too. I'll talk to you later.
Peace out. Later, brother.
Peace. Out! Out!